Very warm welcome. You're watching News 18 Global. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. I dive into this bulletin with our top focus on Ukraine as the war between Russia and Ukraine continues to intensify. The death toll has risen to 10 on Wednesday from a Russian missile strike on a crowded restaurant in Ukraine's eastern city of Kramatorsk. A restaurant and a shopping area were hit in Tuesday's strike on Kramatorsk. Now, police said that at least 61 people were wounded during this missile strike. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky paid his condolences to the families of the deceased following this deadly attack. Now, drone footages from the scene showed significant damage to the buildings, some of which have been reduced to rubble. A rescue operation is also currently underway in the city centre, with security agencies assisting emergency services at the scene and evacuating victims who are also perhaps still trapped under the debris. Local authorities say the area had a high concentration of civilian population, this when the missiles hit. Let's bring you some reactions.
The Russian Federation does not target civilian infrastructure. Strikes are launched against sites which one way or another are linked to Ukraine's military infrastructure.
A twisted web of metal beams and ash. The aftermath of an attack that snuffed out the lives of people eating dinner at a restaurant in Ukraine. Footage from the National Police appeared to show the city of Kramatorsk as it was confronted with yet another day of grief on Tuesday. Russian missiles hit the city again, killing at least 4, according to local officials and police. More than 40 were injured. The dead included a child. Speaking to Reuters, witnesses said they were in disbelief.
I ran here after the explosion because I rented a cafe here. Everything has been blown out there. There's nothing. No windows, no doors. All I see is destruction, fear, and horror. This is the 21st century.
And all the destruction is shocking to see in real life. When you see in photos, it's different. What you see on TV doesn't even begin to show what you see in real life.
The Donetsk Regional State Administration posted video of people dressed in military fatigues helping move the injured. As darkness fell on the city, people were still seen in police video being pulled from the rubble. Missiles also hit a village on the fringes of the city on Tuesday and a cluster of buildings in Kremenchuk, about 230 miles west in central Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky said in his nightly video message that Moscow must be held to account.
Every such act of terror proves again and again to us and the whole world that Russia deserves only one thing as a consequence of all that it has done: defeat and a tribunal, fair and lawful trials against all Russian murderers and terrorists.
Kramatorsk has frequently been a target of Russian attacks. It's a major city west of the front lines in Donetsk province and a likely key objective in any Russian advance. Russia denies targeting civilian sites in what it has described as a, quote, special military operation since invading its neighbour in February 2022.
Let's try and get in a sense of perspective in terms of where Russia's continuous attacks stand, especially at a time when Ukraine has been making sizable achievements as far as its counter-offensive is concerned. And for that, I'm joined in by Valentin Yakushik, who's the chairman of the Supervisory Board of Ukrainian Institute of Politics and is joining me from Kiev. Many thanks to you, Mr. Yakushik, for joining in. Now, let's talk about why, first of all, Russia is repeatedly targeting Kramatorsk since the start of the invasion. Because remember, ever since invasion began, Kramatorsk is a place where we've been reading about repeated attacks by Russia. Why is Kramatorsk being targeted by Russia repeatedly?
Kramatorsk is the today's administrative center of Donetsk region, which is controlled by Ukrainian forces. The other side, which was controlled by separatists, had the center in Donetsk. Now, Russia has declared that territory its own Donetsk Republic. So Kramatorsk is the administrative and economic center of Donetsk region. There are many foreigners there, and it is a very popular place for foreign journalists and politicians to come. So what happened in this case? Someone from the local residents informed Russian armed forces by sending a video to them that there are in this cafe, Rio Pizzeria, that there are many foreigners there. So someone on Russian side of the battlefield received it and decided to use this opportunity to send 2 missiles to this cafe. Yeah, they targeted it, and a lot of civilians died, more than 11 as supposed now, and more than 60 are wounded. Among them, there are foreigners, including 3 citizens of Colombia, those who were involved in negotiations between the previous government of Colombia and the guerrillas.
Right. Mr. Yakushik, amid this death and destruction, what of course stands out is the Kremlin's repeated denials of striking civilian infrastructure, because during this strike as well, the Kremlin has said that Russian forces only hit military-linked targets in Ukraine after a strike on a restaurant that you rightly described. What explains these repeated denials by the Kremlin?
Well, you see, the politicians say one thing and the military are doing other thing. They receive information that there are military, that there are foreign advisors. They do not think about political results and about human tragedies. So 2 missiles hit this cafe. Well, and it's everyday tragedy for Ukraine when civil infrastructure is being bombed. This is the vestiges of war. And this is a symbol saying to us that this war has to stop. Now, when Russia experienced tragedy of a mutiny, they should be more attentive to what is happening in the battlefield.
That is, Mr. Yakushik, what I actually want to come to. This latest attack comes as Zelensky has already announced that Ukraine's counter-offensive was advancing on all fronts. More importantly, the Wagner uprising has placed Putin on shaky grounds. How do you view the timing of this missile strike?
Well, Ukrainian counter-offensive has started already long ago, and the first stage of this counter-offensive has been over. Now that is an intermediary stage towards the second stage of Ukrainian counter-offensive. Ukrainian military and civilian leaders say that counter-offensive second stage will take very soon. Especially it is important before the summit of NATO countries, which will be in 2 weeks' time. Ukraine has to show the results, efficient results of the Western help to Ukraine, military, financial, and other.
Many thanks to you, Mr. Yakushik, for joining in with your precious inputs.